I loved that. Well, they all came in and got in place, and someone nearby said, "Oh my God, there's a lot of harps up there, a lot of people up there." It's true. Thank you all for coming. I was supposed to have the director of music here. That's not true anymore. I'm the director of the Hilton Head Choral Society and used to be the director of music here until December. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this concert of what we call culturally diverse music of and about the Lowcountry, presented by the American Harp Society, the Lowcountry Chapter, and the Hilton Head Choral Society is the co-sponsor of that. We're excited to welcome our guest artist and composer, Rhett, who you'll hear about in a few minutes. I understand there's a shortage of programs, which is a wonderful problem to have. You're in a church, so share. Okay, now that that's out of the way. So I'll give you a little what's up, since not everybody has a program. The next two pieces we'd like to perform are based on hymn tunes that were favorites of 20th century composer Ralph Vaughan Williams, who was a great collector of folk and hymn tunes. The first tune, known as Rosie Medra, unless you're Welsh, and then it's Rosie Medra, is a 19th century tune written by a Welsh vicar, John Edwards, and named for a town in North Wales of the same name, and the name translates lovely, and it's a lovely tune indeed. The second tune is called Kingsfold. It's thought to have a much older hybrid, but it wasn't notated until Vaughan Williams notated it in the mid-20th century. It comes from a small town in Surrey, Kingsfold, where Vaughan Williams first heard it. So, Rosie Medra and Kingsfold. So the next two tunes we'd like to play might be a little more familiar to many of you. The tune Slane is an old Northern Ireland tune from the 5th century. Slane Hill is a hill near Tara in Ireland, and it was at Slane Hill in the 5th century that the first fires of Easter were lit by St. Patrick. His big day's coming up in a couple of weeks. The tune was first published in 1909 and made it into the Irish church hymnal as Be Thou My Vision in 1919. The second tune is of German origin, Lobodengeren, probably based on an old German folk song, which usually means drinking song. And it found its way into German hymnody in the 17th century and is said to be the favorite of King Frederick Wilhelm III of Prussia, who first heard it in 1800. The text was later translated into English by the great hymn translator Catherine Winkworth, and shows up as Praise to the Lord the Almighty in many English language hymnals, which is where you may be familiar with it. So, Slane and Lobodengeren. Felix Mendelssohn was an early 19th century German composer in the music period we call the Romantic period. And this next piece, On Wings of Song, comes from a set of 6 songs for voice and piano, but this lyrical melody has been translated into lots of different formats and instruments and orchestral arrangements, and it's just a beautiful melody that I think you'll recognize. We'll follow the Mendelssohn with another Welsh folk song melody, those Welsh and their tunes, you know. The Ash Grove, which many of you will know, which was first published in 1802 in a book called The Bartic Museum, which is this huge, actually 2-volume book of Welsh literature and early music, and it's a wonderful resource for everything Welsh culturally, compiled, of course, by a harpist. Yeah, it's true. So everything seems to come full circle today here with the harps. We hope you enjoy these 2 settings, On Wings of Song and The Ash Grove. Well, I could tell you the reason we scheduled this next piece was because today is Johnny Cash's 90th birthday. But that's not true. Although it is Johnny Cash's 90th birthday today. And he made Wayfaring Stranger very popular. The tune itself, however, comes from a strong American folk song background and was first published in 1858. While the traditional Wayfaring Stranger, both text and tune that we know, have been the foundation of North American music for at least a couple of centuries, its origin is really far from exact. Some historians have traced its genesis back to the 1780s, others the early 1800s. Depending on who you talk to, the song may be a reworked African American spiritual, a lifted Native American hymn, or even a creation of nomadic Portuguese settlers that's other than the southern part of Appalachia. Pick one. You cannot be wrong. Many artists have recorded it, including Burl Ives, who really first recorded it and kind of got it into the popular culture. Then Joan Baez, Johnny Cash, obviously, Emmylou Harris, and even Ed Sheeran, to name a few more recently. So, Wayfaring Stranger. And now I'd like to introduce to you Lucy Scandrett, who's the president of the local chapter. Don't forget your microphone.
Hi, thank you so much for coming today. It is such a pleasure for us to play for so many people. What a treat it is. And I know I speak for all the harpists saying this. So I feel truly blessed that you all are here. Now, we are very excited because we have a guest harpist. His name is Rhett Barnwell. And I know that's a familiar name around here. And he's a Georgia boy, Macon, Georgia, is that right? Macon, Georgia. So we are pleased that he is first going to play for us 2 pieces that he wrote, and one is based on a chant. So please welcome Rhett Barnwell.
Hosting all of us and letting us. And I was just thinking, I was sitting there going, I have not seen this many people in church for 2 years, you know, and there's so many of you, we thought we should have charged admission. So on your way out, there will be an exit fee. But I know, you know, it's such a beautiful day, and, you know, I know many of you could have been outside playing golf or tennis or on the beach with, you know, the other 50,000 people that came to Hilton Head today. But I'm glad that you chose to come here. I'm going to play 2 pieces, as Lucy said. One of them is fairly short, and the title, well, I'll tell you why it's called what it is. I started playing the harp some years ago, and my purpose was initially was to go into nursing homes and hospitals and hospices to play therapeutic music for patients. And I did that for a number of years in this area, well, Charleston. And so I would take a friend of mine with me, and she actually looked kind of like Lucy, and she had blonde hair. And my friend was very outgoing, and so we would go from room to room, and I would play. Well, my friend was also one of my harp students, and so she always would come up with these very creative birthday gifts for me. You know those people they just come up with the most perfect gift for you, and they have it wrapped in a cute little package and the perfect card. Well, I'm not one of those people, but she was. So she would always come up with these little harpy things for me. So for her birthday, I thought, well, I'll do something special. I'll write a piece of harp music for her. So she was learning how to use the left hand at the time. She was a beginner. So I decided to write a harp etude. I mean, what does every woman want? A harp etude, you know. One more thing to have to practice. So, but it turned out to be you know, kind of a nice little piece. So I was playing it at the nursing home one day, and she walked into the room with me, and the man who was the patient looked up and said, "Oh, you brought your angel with you today." And I said, I did. And so the piece has become known as Angel's Hymn. So. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. As you can see, we have these beautiful harps up here, and some of them are a little different than the others, and people always ask me, 'cause mine is obviously smaller, and they say, well, what's the difference between your harp and the other ones? And I say, well, about $15,000 for starters. The biggest difference is this one, as well as the one next to me, are called lever harps. And this one is more of a Celtic harp, I guess you could say. But the biggest difference with the levers is there are levers on them. What a novel idea. So to make notes flat, or sharp rather, you just raise the levers. It's sort of like the black keys on the piano. And these other ones, have foot pedals. There are 7 pedals. There's one for first gear, second gear, then there's the clutch and the brake. So anyway, the next piece I'm going to play is completely different from the first one. As Lucy said, it is based on a Gregorian chant. And in fact, it's the chant appointed for Easter Sunday. Now, if you're a Methodist, which I've worked for many years in Methodist churches, you would not know this piece. But if you're Catholic, you probably will, but please don't try to sing along with me because it's very distracting. But it's based on a very ancient Gregorian chant. As I said, it's for Easter, and the story kind of goes, it's taken from the scripture in the Bible. It's supposed to have words to it, but I'm not going to sing them today, where it's, Christ has been crucified, and then Mary goes to the tomb on Easter Sunday morning. Of course, well, she doesn't know it's Easter Sunday because she's Jewish. But anyway, she does go to the tomb and discovers that the Lord is indeed risen, and she goes running back and to tell all the disciples. And that's kind of the story behind it. So this one is called Prelude on Victime Pascali, Laures, which is the chant.
You may have noticed that there are lots of pieces on the program today carrying the theme of water, including the upcoming premiere of Wade in the Water, a Lowcountry suite of Rhett's. Water seems to be an appropriate theme since we are surrounded by it here on Hilton Head. In literature, water also is often the symbol of escape from slavery, metaphors of crossing over the line between black and white society. In Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, crossing the frozen Ohio River means freedom for Eliza and her son. In Toni Morrison's Beloved, crossing the frozen Ohio River, there's a theme there, separates a life of slavery and a new life of freedom. Here in a church sanctuary, we're reminded that water is a sacred symbol in almost every religious tradition, often referring to purity, rebirth, and redemption. The Scottish folk tune, The Water is Wide, or O Wally Wally, if you prefer, was first published in 1906 and has made its way into many musical environments, including hymnals, folk songs, orchestral and choral arrangements. Pop singers have recorded it. It was a favorite tune of English composers Benjamin Britten and John Rutter, and many others. In this lovely arrangement of Daniel Burton's, you can hear the rippling water flow throughout.
This is something that we've been waiting for a long time. COVID sort of interrupted our plans. The American Harp Society offers grants, 2 chapters, and we applied and won. A grant, a grant to commission Rhett Barnwell to write a piece for us that would feature our Lowcountry music, the Gullah melodies. And we are so pleased that he has done a fantastic job of arranging it for a 3-part harp ensemble. And it's wonderful in that he lived in Charleston for a while, he knows the Gullah melodies, and he's done a great deal of research. I hope you look in your program and read about all that he did going, and we actually have the words to the spirituals, which I will not try to pronounce, but anyway, please read that. And this is a celebration, a real celebration for Rhett to play that for you, for us to play Rhett's piece that he arranged. So Rhett, Wade in the Water, Lowcountry Suite.
Thank you, Lucy. I would like to thank again Lucy Skendrett and the Lowcountry chapter of the American Harp Society, of whom many are here today, or all are here today, I guess, and Lucy has just worked tirelessly. I guess we've been working on this for well over a year or more, 2 years. Yeah. And it's a great joy to be able to be here and conduct this, and thank you again, and thank you to the Hilton Head Choral Society for co-sponsoring this concert and bringing many of you wonderful people here. There are program notes and text in the bulletin. If you don't want to read it now, you can save it for the sermon when you're in church tomorrow. It's always a good time to get caught up on reading, I've found. I'm kidding, I shouldn't say that. I work for a church, so you know. So this suite, when Lucy and I were talking about this, it seemed that the obvious thing to explore was the indigenous music of this area, which are the spirituals. And the Gullah Geechee people, I'm probably preaching to the choir here because you know a lot of this already, is a very wonderful cultural treasure from this area of the Low Countries, Georgia and South Carolina, all the way down to Savannah and up to Charleston and beyond. And I really enjoyed researching this quite a bit. Of course, you know, it brings up the painful situation of slavery, but, you know, not to sugarcoat that, but this repertoire grew out of a way for people to deal with that. These songs gave them hope for a better future, many of whom did after emancipation. So the people that came over from Africa brought their traditions with them, their music, their rhythm, and their songs, and they developed them here in this, you know, Christianized part of the country into these spirituals. The term Gullah Geechee, many of you probably know where this comes from, but I actually didn't. I had to do some research into it. The Gullah comes from the word Angola, which is the African country from which many of the slaves came. So they became known as the Gullah. And Geechee, they think, comes from the Ogeechee River, which is outside of Savannah. So it's come to kind of be an all-inclusive Gullah Geechee culture, language, etc. So the pieces I'm doing are based on very authentic spirituals, 2 of which you probably have never heard before. The other 2 I'm guessing you would have. And since some of you don't have programs, I'm not going to read all the words and all that because we would be here for 2 more hours. And I know many of you have dinner plans, which is far more important than hearing me read. But the pieces in it, 2 of them actually have harp imagery. Imagine that. Although harps were not being used, the actual instruments, but you know, there's this biblical image of the harp, and people, oh, the harp, they think of heaven, and you know, they say, oh, it's such an angelic instrument, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. Right now, it sounds very angelic with these lovely people playing. And so what I did was I took these pieces that would have been sung only by the human voice and a small group of people, and not much harmony, if any, and a percussion instrument. Now, the percussion instruments of the time were very primitive, shall we say. They were not allowed to use drums. It was against the rules of the plantations. So they would use sticks, and we have an authentic stick here today, which we're going to use. Now, the difficulty in doing these, generally speaking, the way this works with the spirituals, they would have a leader who would start out, singing blah, 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 and then everybody else would jump in, blah, 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 blah. So in trying to make these arrangements, I've tried to put a little bit of that in with the harps. Now, you have to understand, translating something from, a single line voice into a 47-string instrument in 3 parts. I mean, I'm not good at math, but I think that's over 100 and something strings. So that's what we're dealing with. So the first piece is called Play on Your Little Harp, David, Play, which seemed a very obvious choice. The second one is called Face the Rising Sun. I'm anglicizing these because I don't really speak Gullah. But it's the earliest version of Let Us Break Bread Together. And that actually they think came from Beaufort, South Carolina, actually from their St. Helena Island. The next one is one that I particularly like. I was playing it for a friend of mine on the recording last night. He goes, "Oh, it sounds like a video game," because it has a certain rhythm to it that does lend itself to feel that way. But it's called The Silver Spade, and it basically is talking about, well, death, which most of these deal with, but in heaven. So they're saying, I will dig my grave with a silver spade. Then it goes on, and then I'm going to get, first of all, I'm going to get a golden crown up in the heavens, and then it says I'm going to get a golden harp when I get to heaven. So, and we actually have gold harps. Isn't this the coolest thing in the world? Who knew? So that's that. And then we end with one of the most famous spirituals, Wade in the Water, which is what gave the title to the whole piece. This one has the history is, some of these other ones are pretty well documented. They know where they came from. But Wade in the Water, it's just sort of appeared. I mean, it just, people knew it. There's this famous story that Harriet Tubman, who was the escaped slave who orchestrated the Underground Railroad or helped people to escape, would often sing this. And in these spirituals, there's a lot of code imagery, code words. And another, sorry I'm talking so much, but the other reason for the Gullah Geechee language is so the plantation owners could not understand what the slaves were saying. So that was another aspect to it. But anyway, there's some little words embedded. So Wade in the Water, they say, is when they're trying to direct people how to escape, to go by the river so the dogs will not catch up on the scent. So that's the background of Wade in the Water. I hope you will enjoy it, and thank you again to Lucy and all of your hard work, and to the American Harp Society for promoting this.
Now it's time for the thank yous. First of all, for the stick extraordinaire player, Jack Scantling. He goes from one extreme to the next. He has to carry Lucy's harp and his own stick. There you have it. So thank you all for coming this afternoon. Lots of thanks to make. Thanks to St. Andrew for the use of the lovely facility here. It's a great room for strings to play in acoustically. To the Choral Society members for their help with the logistics of things and the marketing of this program. To all of our lovely players, thank you all. They'll be repeating this concert tomorrow in Charleston, at Charleston Southern, so they get to do these beautiful arrangements again. I would be remiss if I didn't mention one thing. When you came in with your program, you would have received a rack card about the Choral Society's next concert. On April 1st, no foolin'. April 1st. If you didn't get one of these when you came in, there will be some on the back table as you go out. It's got all the information about that. Oh, I'm going to introduce the harpists. Sure. I have to get my cheat sheet. Let's see. I'll just go down the list as they show in the program. Holly, you're the first one on the list. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Karen Bartlett, to my left. Kelly Boyle. Carolyn Christie, whose birthday it is today. She and Johnny Cash. Kathleen Wilson. Christine Van Arsdale. Sandra Thomas, and our very own Lucy Scandrett. So we thought we'd end today's concert with just a musical favorite everyone's, what's kind of become the unofficial national anthem of the United States. And given what's going on in the world, sit back and enjoy.
And thank you to Tim Reynolds for his fantastic conducting and your program notes. They were fantastic.
Thank you all for coming. Of course, there are the obligatory donation baskets on the way out, which enable scholarships and this kind of programming through the American Harp Society. So thank you all for coming. Have a good evening.